I was just gonna say, you know, your striking accuracy right now is the highest in UFC history, 74.5%.
That is worth a T-shirt, huh?
Yeah, right. So what is that? Is that something you feel like you've had your whole career? I think when people say look at your late fights later, they say you're being a lot more methodical and maybe patient to start the fights. Is that a conscious decision, or is that something maybe just the opponents you've been fighting, how you have to approach it tactically?
Well, I always adapt to an opponent, and I mean, some opponents you know, it's all about winning. It doesn't matter how you win, it's all about winning. So sometimes you're going to throw a lot, sometimes you're not going to throw a lot, sometimes you're going to go for you know, it depends. You study what is his weakness and then you work towards that. And the high accuracy rate, I'm very pleased with it, because that's obviously, that means I'm doing something and it's very often successful. And yeah, we're gonna keep that up. Try to keep it up.
Yeah, and it's not just that.
Yeah,
and it's a high output too. It's not like, you know, you have the highest accuracy but one of the lowest outputs. Is that something, you know, that's important to you, is to also be active and accurate?
Well, I mean, it just happens how it happens. You train, you do the best you can, you put in the work, you diet, you do all these things, and then it happens how it happens. I mean, you don't plan. I mean, well, maybe you do, because some fights I did plan. Junior dos Santos, that left upper hook, that was planned. So sometimes you do plan, but it takes two to tango.
Yeah. How pleasing was that win over Junior dos Santos? There was a lot of build up to that fight. You guys, you know, a lot of anticipation to go in there and end it, you know, very definitively. How pleasing was that for your career?
Very pleasing. Yeah, it was the last of my contract, not to mention that I had a long-standing rivalry with him. A lot of things were said back and forth, and yeah, it's very pleased to conclude it in that way.
And can you just clarify once and for all how this fight came together? Because it seems like, you know, his side saying one thing, you know, you've said what you've had to say. Can you just, you know, give us the final say and how this all came together?
Well, UFC contacted me. Basically, they said, we want you to headline the Rotterdam card, first UFC here. And we have for you Andre Arlovski or Cain Velasquez, but Cain is injured. So, and then waiting for my response. Well, I don't have a problem fighting a teammate. We don't train together. We're not friends, we don't hang out, so I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean, if he was a friend, if we did hang out, then I would have said, well, preferably Cain, but I mean, he's not my friend. We don't hang out. You know, and to add on to that, I mean, I've fought friends before. I've fought teammates before. Yeah, and that's just part of the job. I see it as a sport. It's obvious that he has a little bit more difficulty with him, but that's a YP. That's not an MP, it's a YP.
Yeah, and as you said, you've fought teammates before. Is that, what situation can you compare this to the most? Is it something from your kickboxing career, when you've done grappling? What's the most relevant thing?
Kickboxing career, I fought Tyrone Spong, who I trained with previously for 7 years here in Holland. And then in the K1 finals we fought, which was fine. I didn't like him, so it was fine. Beat him, very happy with that. And then I fought Guggen Saki, who was my friend. I had a little bit more difficulty with that because he was a buddy and we trained together. I beat him too. That evening I became K1 champion. But yeah, it's a sport. It's part of the sport.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's
Thank
the
you.
way I see it.
Yeah, thank you so much for the time, Alistair.